As I write this, I am eating a salad, editing, and watching Dexter.
Tonight's the night.
Really thick.
I'm not really sure what my life has come to, and I'm sure my parents are disappointed in me, but I'm proud of me, and honestly, that's all that matters. The only thing that is more important is Fallout New Vegas. This game has been with me for way longer than I really know.
I have crippling depression.
If I had a memory that was equivalent to a giraffe's long neck and its ability to eat from tall trees, I could remember my first playthrough where I headed north from Goodsprings, where my hippocampus was ripped from my brain by the delectable yet terrifying creepy crawlies. Or even grabbing an anti-material rifle and taking out my pent-up anger on the deathclaws scattered around Quarry Junction. The memories I do have bleed into Skyrim because the fact of the matter is that being a stealth archer is something that transcends the bow. Okay, so this started as a bit. I realize how bad I am at archery now. I used to be a god at this. What's the deal? Holy sh!
Nice.
Okay, feel good about that. Oh, I don't even know how I hit that guy.
He's beginning to believe.
I will survive. Pretty sure I'm gonna die. My dude just murdered me with pickaxes. No! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dude, how do you fucking play this game? Okay, I think we're gonna call it a wrap there. Getting past the nostalgia that is Skyrim, I return to Fallout along with the ideas of my youth in regards to sneaking around and taking down my foes. To re-engage that portion of my mind and to attempt to answer life's great question of why must I toil here on this mortal plane, I made the executive decision to play the game like I used to, using sniper rifles.
She replaced you!
For my own personal torment, and in order to prevent this from being an anti-material rifle run, we're going to set up some ground rules. To qualify as a sniper rifle, weapons must be two-handed, have a scope, and have a certain type of ammo. The only ammo type that I could use at the start is 308 rounds, with 50 caliber being unlocked only at level 30. In addition, we will be playing on very hard difficulty and hardcore mode with increased wasteland spawns for added chaos. Finally, we are required to beat 3 of the 4 DLCs. With those virtually insignificant rules out of the way, get on your thigh highs, and let's see what it's like to only use sniper rifles in Fallout New Vegas. The alternative start mod allows us to skip past blasting our load in Doc Mitchell's bed and jump directly into selecting our special stats. I utilize Charisma as a dump stat like most of my runs, but I also decided to use Endurance in the same way. I have never played with a 1 in Endurance, and I figured that if I would in any run, that this run is a solid candidate. Looking past the negatives, we've got high stats in almost every skill aside from Perception, which just so happens to be high enough for better criticals when we get to that point. I decided to play as a cute girl for the benefits of Black Widow before selecting Guns, Lockpick, and Repair for my tag skills. Guns is by far the most obvious of choices. I despise Lockpick because it feels useless in most challenge runs, but for this one there is a special locked box that requires 100 skill to open. Repair is important for jury rigging to ensure our guns stay in tip-top condition. For traits I went for Fast Shot and Logan's Loophole, though it wasn't an easy choice. The main disadvantage of single-shot weapons is their fire rate, so I opted towards making that a little bit easier to deal with. The accuracy penalty is easily offset by perks and not having bad aim.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Logan's Zoop will be skilled in my opinion given how long we're going to be playing on this character, but we'll end up changing this out once we get to Old World Blues. If you are familiar with alternative starts, you know that you have the option of choosing your background. In my case, I went with being an NCR deserter simply so that I was forced to choose a different faction. But this didn't work out the way that I anticipated as the NCR never ended up disliking me. Hard to believe, I know. Before long, the sun was beating down on my back and the sound of gunfire filled at least 2 of my holes. I profited from this a little bit, but in the back of my mind I had hoped that one of these poor souls had a sniper rifle. They did not. I headed towards the oddly attractive green dinosaur that looms over the town of Novak before coming inside of it, to trade with Cliff. Feeling adorable at this point, I wanted to ensure that my body would stay intact, so I bought an insurance policy in the form of medical supplies. Gerber can suck it. Speaking about sucking things, I head towards Helios 1 to say hello to Fantastic. He turns me off with his inability to pay attention to details, so I turn my passionate yet totally not homoerotic gaze upon Ignacio. His soothing voice immediately put me to work with resetting the mainframe connections. The dogs inside the eastern panel gave me some trouble, but I already knew going in, this run would not be one that I would have a great survivability on due to an endurance of 1. Regardless, I pushed on and prayed my enemies would be thoughtful enough to bring lube to use on my freshly shaven ass. Alright, so we don't have a programmer's digest, which means this area is essentially impossible unless I'm okay with our first death. Even with a turbo. Buff out? Come on. Come on. No. Dodge and weave. Dodge and weave. Dodge and weave. Robo-brains can also fuck you up. Like that. We're killing it. I mean, we're dying, is what I mean. We're so fucked. There is no way I can wait long enough for that door to open. Juke him. Scrap metal just in case we need it for this next section. And run. Run as fast as I can. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, nice. With the discovery of the strat known as dodge and weave, I wait until my debuffs go away and use the piece of scrap metal we picked up in the previous room to repair the wiring. This allows me to do Ignatio's bidding and level up to level 2 for rapid reload. This perk seems like a mixed bag when having a higher agility, but I grabbed it anyways with the hopes that it would help out a little bit. I probably would have grabbed Black Widow if I were to actually plan out these runs, but that requires sanity, which I do not possess. Hitting the road and stocking up on as many supplies as I can at the gas station, I pass by Daddy at the 188, watch a rat scorpion get destroyed like my will to live after watching the news, and head to Camp McCarran. This allows us to take the back way into the strip, which saves us a little bit of time and delays the conversation with Old Ben that I have an inexplicable disdain for. Sorry, Uncle Ben. Now that I was on the strip, I could enact my revenge on Benny. Bolting straight for the tops like I do at gay bars, I snag up Black Widow via the free level up. One could successfully argue that I didn't use the sniper rifle to kill Benny, but you don't know what I'm packing down there. With Benny dead and me being forgiven for all of my non-existent crimes, I head over to Mr. House in hopes of finding something to stroke. I ultimately settle on his ego and listen to his speech for the 52nd time. Since he gave me some money for the platinum chip, I decided to gamble it all at the local casino. Gamora then gave me their piece of the pie, and I snagged up a few Kims as a chaser. Since I was a petite girl at this point and still had no sniper rifle, I opted towards buffing myself up a little bit in the form of experience. This saw me going over to the Kings and visiting Oris. Throughout these playthroughs, especially since there are quite a few mods, some goofy things happen. One of the more funny things for this run was seeing the people who work for Oris to boost his reputation, helping him kill the actual bad people. Increased Wasteland spawns is having Oris's friends back him up and firefight, causing us to go down the same path as them. This is peak gameplay right here. This was just a mess, and a reason to absolutely love Increased Wasteland spawns. After that debacle, I headed over to Roy, Wayne, and Julie Farkas over at the Mormon Fort. This whole quest allowed me to get a bunch of experience for essentially talking two factions off the proverbial edge. As someone who likes edging a lot, this shocked me. I bumped up my skills a little bit more and put one more point into agility. It is rather strange not having the ability to buy implants due to my non-existent endurance, but it didn't bother me nearly as much as what I thought it would have. With my current objective being that of getting inside of the fort and raising the Securitron army, I knew the time of pacifism was in the past. I needed a rifle to get through the array of enemies defending the bunker, but given that sniper rifles aren't sold to low-level thugs like myself, I had to resort to prior experience. I snagged up the Crimson Caravan Guards armor before popping by this building that most people pass by on the way to the boomers. With 75 lockpick, you can open up the door and snag up a bunch of supplies, including a sniper rifle. This weapon gave me the confidence I needed to start pushing towards Cottonwood Cove, but the fact of the matter is that it was simply a stepping stone to something even more beautiful. Is this going to be our first kill? Oh yes it is. Busted. And it looks so pretty too. Look at the way it glistens in the light. It's like it's all lubed up. Oh, hi. I just got one shot. With 80 lockpick, comprehension, and a locksmith's reader, one can snag up the Gobi Campaign Scout Rifle. This guy is faster, has more critical hit damage, and even degrades slower than the standard sniper rifle. That being said, the primary disadvantage behind the seemingly better in every way older brother is that it can't be silenced, making it rather pointless for stealth combat. Regardless, I was ecstatic. With two solid weapons at my side, I bounded down the mountain with my plug nearly popping out as I went. Once I actually got to the fort, Caesar was pleased to see me, but I was only there as an agent of Mr. House. The bunker below encapsulated me as if it were a couple of sponges and a rubber glove. so I proceeded to shoot my ammunition directly in the faces of all those who opposed me. As one would expect, armed with a sniper rifle and some solid armor, this area proves easy. As a matter of fact, a lot of my runs these days are easy. Many of you know that I work full-time at a hospital and find the odd hours stressful at times, so my dedication towards grinding my flesh against a cheese grater has certainly wavered. That said, the fact of the matter is that I never wanted to be a challenge run YouTuber. I just wanted to play my favorite games in different ways and share my words with the world, so I appreciate you guys sticking around and making this community what it is today. Thank you. Deciding to, at this moment, only share my words with Caesar and his receding hairline, I put points into explosives, enough to get me to a skill of 30. You may think that I've completely lost my marbles, but popping a Patriot's Cookbook with Comprehension allows you to get your skill to level 50, meaning that you can farm Legion fame by talking with Severus in Cottonwood Cove. Becoming liked by the Legion allows you to return to Lucius and unlock their safe house. We won't be siding with them today, but hiking over in our cute gear nets us some practice with our sniper rifle and the Lucky Shades. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna swap to HP rounds. Nice. Nice. Getting really good at shooting guns out of people's hands. This guy will actually give you some stealth points, just handy. But the real reason why we're here is for these bad boys, the Lucky Shades. There is also a sniper rifle here, which I completely forgot about. With decent gear and steadily increasing skills, I was ready to head over to the boomers to ensure their assistance in the approaching second battle of Hoover Dam. Saying hello to George in the most traditional way possible, I get through the bombardments before being introduced to Raquel. She's quite cute, but someone even cuter is her busty grandma Pearl. She encourages me to work with her grandchild and her ex-husband Loyal to clean up Nellis. The things that we must do because we didn't go to therapy. Since I had enough repair, I fixed the solar panels myself, but I didn't have the science to get Loyal's thingamajig. I had to painstakingly kill all the ants, which sounds easy enough, but when they seemingly spawn in the most inconvenient places possible, I want to let my grief ooze out upon the world. Instead, I let it ooze out upon Raquel, and decided to save the boomers to the best of my ability. Given that I was going to be sticking around a little while, I listened to Pete for way longer than what I really cared to admit before passing some easy speech checks and getting inside of Pearl's pants. Much like a clam, deep inside there was something to behold. Loyal tried to help me dig it out, and Jack was a decent videographer, but the chemistry was just too much to separate Pearl and I. Dropping this completely unnecessary pretext that caused 19% of viewers to subscribe, 43% to click off in horror, and the remaining 38% to rewind the video to figure out what the hell just happened, I began making my way towards the bomber that would ultimately help me in the upcoming battle. Lake Lurks proved to be easy pickings and worth a decent amount of experience, but only having one in endurance meant that I had to be a little bit careful about placing the ballast. I can't say that I'm terribly into breath play, but I blasted all over those balloons and returned to Pearl to finish what we started for Mr. House. With my time in Pearl's clan coming to an end, I head back to Mr. House to continue jamming on with the main story. Gamora is seemingly a mixed bag among the community, but I've found my ability to appreciate things through repetition to be rather advantageous. Not only do you get to speak to the receptionist that has quite possibly some of the best looking clavicles to ever exist, but you get to visit Kachino's prison wallet for free. In some runs we do the same for Clannon, but since we have a high enough lockpick, we can bypass his hole to get the tapes we need for blackmail. We don't have the speech to sway Troik into doing what we want under the threat of the NCR, so I opted for paying off his contract and for a few chems since I was already in the spending habit. This allows me to grab his thermite to place on top of the gun shipment, ultimately hindering those working against Mr. House. Normally these crates hold several assault carbines and even a sniper rifle or two, but because we have several mods running today, we missed out on that option that I totally wasn't banking on or anything. Remember this moment when someone tells me mods make everything easier. Despite my dismay, I persisted with the knowledge that the coochie grabber we know and love would pull through with enough oral encouragement. I swallowed whatever would fit my mouth and puffed out my chest like Superman, deflecting bullets. I, however, was Clark Kent, given the fact that I was wearing my lucky shades. Many deaths followed on all fronts, but eventually backup arrived and Cappuccino survived. Many times in my runs, I over-prepare by stockpiling chems, collecting the best gear available at the given time, or min-maxing my character to the extreme. With this character only having a 1 in endurance, a fact that I will continuously spam because it is one of the most unique experiences this run had in my opinion, preparation was essential. That being said, I decided to throw caution to the same wind a tumbleweed shares and find out the meaning of life. Biologically, which is unfortunately my area of expertise, the meaning of life is to reproduce. As I was playing a woman, this could only mean one thing. I didn't want to be a colored little girl, so I took the bullheaded approach. It turns out that men and women dressed in metal suits are in fact deadly. Who would have guessed? After they had their way with me, I busted through their defenses and made it to the lower level. My sneak wasn't great, even with a stealth boy, but that is likely due to my lack of patience and the perk Silent Running. I have taken massive dumpies on this perk in the past, but this run and the Freddy Krueger run has now fully convinced me that it is worth taking. Unfortunately, my new opinions don't change the past. Fortunately, however, I wasn't going to let a little dismemberment stop me from my objective. With the Brotherhood of Steel dead, all that was left was to power the substation. I somehow managed to get out of the quest for Kimball, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it was because of the history that I chose for Alternative Start. The main quests outside of the ending were then completed, but we still had to get through the DLCs. In preparation, I bought ammo from Fendertron and the Arms Merchant. I did try Quartermaster Barden, but that hot twink told me mommy didn't give me permission. Upset, I wanted to watch somebody's head get blown off, and I figured what better place to do that than in Novak. Grabbing the proof that a bad lady did a bad thing to the wrong woman who was with the right guy as far as avenging the dead goes, I get just what the doctor ordered and the first recon beret for more critical hit chance. Thirsty for even more damage, I began Lonesome Row with my eyes on a particular tuster. I have often said that Lonesome Road is a decent test for a high-level character and not much else. Even with that bit of negativity, I have found a great deal of appreciation with how mundane it can be. After all, you get to rescue Eddie, the fluffy, adorable robot that he is, and open one of the coolest doors in the game. Previous experience suggested that I had nothing to really worry about when dealing with these first few sentry bots, but I quickly realized that I was going to have to display a little bit of tact should I want to get through this encounter in one piece. In this section, I felt like I was squished flat, almost like a pancake. As an avid consumer of pancakes, when I was invited over for a pancake dinner, I simply couldn't resist. The syrup dancing off the sides, the sweetness of the strawberries, or even the sounds it makes as it sticks to the plate. But I'm afraid, as usual, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to the start. I had been texting a guy I had met in my college statistics class. We had spoken briefly during basic exchanges, but my interest in him came to fruition when he would answer one of the professor's questions. A tall man, Onyx was. He towered over everyone even while seated. But his voice. Oh, his voice. Deep, thick like syrup, his words would dance their way into my ears and a slight smile would form across my face. Sure, the sound was beautiful, but if you would actually listen, you'd find an even greater beauty. Confidence, a wealth of maturity through a life of travesty. When he texted me for a question on the homework, I may have replied a little bit too enthusiastically and he took notice. We messaged back and forth, but it was after the class's finals that he sent a text that made my skin tighten and my heart race. I remember typing at least 5 different messages, a combination of yes and no with some excuses as to why I couldn't come. Ultimately, however, I said yes, got his address, and got ready. It wasn't a date, I told myself, but the way he spoke to me was different. The messages grasped at something more than my hearing. I put on my best t-shirt, a red flannel that fit my small frame perfectly. It's cold outside and this was sometime mid-December, but I was more than eager to embrace the cold for a chance at getting to know him more. I drove to Onyx's house, not feeling the chill and instead only feeling nervous. Butterflies raged in my stomach. Why was I so nervous? I walked up to the door and it opened, seemingly waiting for my arrival. Warmth radiated out, presumably from the house itself, but I couldn't help but think it was from him as I looked up to see his smile. We talked for an hour about life, our hobbies, and our work. Everything clicked. We were different and walked different roads, but somehow they crossed here at this moment. It's now time for supper, for which he had already started preparing for as we spoke. After laughing and failing miserably to figure out where everything was in his kitchen, I helped by mixing the eggs, milk, flour, and baking powder together. He procured a small bottle of vanilla extract behind me and reached around to pour a little in. His arm, easily twice the size of mine, moved with grace, and I could smell his cologne with his proximity. A meadow unfolded in my mind. The woods, the flowers. Oh, to smell that again. Onyx made the pancakes as I cut the strawberries and admired him. He caught my gaze and the microwave's reflective surface and smiled again as we continued talking about our goals and interests. We sat in the dining room and enjoyed the company and food. We were both college students, him only slightly older than me, so we were both still just making our way in life. He talked about how he bought his house, the garage sales for the furniture, and the gifted cookware. It was the passion he spoke with that made me attracted to him, and as we moved to his couch, I swore I could feel warmth behind me. I turned around to see his cat, so we naturally talked about animals and the like. He had an Xbox set up next to his collection of games, so we chatted about Skyrim for a while. It all felt right. The longer I sat, I realized he was so much better than me. His strength, maturity, and kindness made me realize I had such a long way to go before becoming a good person. In hindsight, I wish I would have stayed with him that night. I wish that when he showed me his massive bed during the tour of his house, that we would have had a chance to use it. But we never did, and that was the last time I saw Onyx. It was also the last time that I saw Eddie as I went in to fight Ulysses. Leaving him behind granted me more damage, which, when combined with Kim's, allowed me to easily put down Morgan Freeman's cousin. Like usual, the marked men that stormed in with stealth boys and explosives proved hard, but in the end I bombed both factions and walked out completely covered in what the new kids call drip. I threw any gear that I didn't want to use at this point into the footlocker and threw one more point into intelligence, marking the completion of Lonesome Road. Despite me having reached my climax, we still have a long way to go. Getting back into the swing of things, I decide to murder the NCR at Boulder City. This isn't something that I have done in a long time, as it is easier in every way just to defuse a situation, but I really wanted to twist the green-skirted men's nipples, just to watch them squirm and punish them for not selling me ammo. Squirm they did, but somehow they were still really chill with me. Wanting to get a little bit more ammo and meet my new friends, I killed my way towards Red Rock Canyon. Finally getting to the Armory itself, I bought a variety of .308 rounds, thanks to our understanding with the cons. This is a great place that is often overlooked simply because it isn't referenced to my knowledge. A few other vendors that I visit that are much more recognizable are Vendortron, Mick and Ralph's, and the Arms Merchant in Alexander at the 188. Feeling that I had a decent amount of .308 ammo, I head past Mo's home and clear out his relatives as I went. For whatever reason, I felt particularly violent towards Neil and realized he was a little bit tougher than what I originally gave him credit for. My strategy for dealing with the suit mutants was of course avoiding an all-out assault and instead sticking to stealth. This works, but not as well as what one would hope. Regardless, I reached level 20 and proceeded to research perks for half an hour before ultimately grabbing Handloader. As I write this script, I realize that I never ended up actually using it at all this run, simply because crafting ammo is the bane of my existence. Getting to the top of the mountain, I deal with the Scattered Nightkin as well as the Sniper armed with Annabelle. With enough science, I was able to repair Rhonda, get Raul's chastity key from Tabitha, and tease the Ghoulies with something that he would never earn: true freedom. Julie Farkas, of course, thought that was rather mean, but she had no one else to turn to since I'm the main character. James over at the Atomic Wrangler agreed to help her out with her supply problem, and I cured Jacob and Bill from their recreational problems. Remember kids, only do drugs in video games. While in the area, I decided to try out my ability to top things in the form of arcade. In all seriousness, I wanted power armor, and since the Brotherhood was destroyed, there was only one way I could get it. As I teased his soft, supple skin by visiting Thomas Hildren, I realized he wanted more than I could possibly provide without bloodshed. I went to the fort and murdered people as I went. Power armor in a run that typically involves stealth is an interesting choice, and not one that I choose to make lightly. Because of my endurance, I wanted to try to be as physically tough as possible for when damage wasn't the only thing that was necessary. To get in Arcade's good graces, I spoke to Daisy, Orion, Cannibal Johnson, and Judah. After what felt like 5.5 years of getting bombarded with side quest after side quest for no real particular reason, as is Fallout fashion,
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
I helped Dr. Henry with his science experiment, killed Orion with the smell of fish simply by dropping my pants, and unlocked the ability to wear power armor. I may have an STD, but it only hurts to pee sometimes. Like the filthy casual you are, you probably think that I'm going to wear the Remnant's power armor. Since I'm a sucker for all the health regen I can get, I make my way towards the Long 15, where I painstakingly fight my way through the glowing ghouls and watch my weapon condition continuously degrade. Jury rigging is a great perk, but only when you have weapons to repair it with. Fortunately, I found some and obtained my new armor, the Scorched Sierra Power Armor. Its tag says HP plus 2, but it actually provides 2 HP a second, which is equivalent to 1/4 of the highest tier of Radchild. Since I can't heal the years of trauma that I suffered growing up, I frequently opt towards healing abilities in video games. Now that I've unpacked more than what anyone asked for, I restocked on ammo and proceeded to do a bunch of random stuff that has no lasting impact on this entire run outside of a little bit of tasty experience. Look at how baby he is. He's so adorable. Why is he so small? Walking around in this power armor with a sniper rifle made me feel incredibly cute and breedable, if I'm being honest with you. Honest with my heart. Honest Hearts is often at the bottom of the list when people think about the DLCs, but as someone who is typically in the same position, I feel obligated to play it regardless, if at least for the experience. That said, given that I didn't benefit from this in any physical capacity such as gear upgrades, we are going to jump to the most key points. Surviving the White Legs attack, I met up with Joshua Graham in his goon cave, recovered seemingly useless artifacts and some medical supplies, snagged up the map for the Grand Staircase, stole both of the totems in the White Legs camps, and returned to Daniel for the final assault. Salt Upon Wounds was met with a swift end, and I opened up my Christmas present to find that I didn't get anything that I asked for. With Honest Hearts complete, I weight cut by swapping to lighter armor before purchasing as much ammo as possible. Looking past Old World Blues' resistant enemies, the worst portion of this DLC is not being able to leave to the Mojave to restock on supplies. This makes sense lore-wise, but means that the player must bring all ammo that they think that they will need for their entire journey. Sure, there is the sync trading station, but they are about as useful as bringing rope for climbing a mountain. It isn't worthless, just not half as good as what it could have been. Most players that find themselves struggling in this section resort to using proton axes and putting points into melee, but given that we can only use sniper rifles, we need to stock up on ammo before our excursion. Another thing at the back of my mind was level 30. According to our rules, we would be able to use 50 caliber bullets, so I bought some as well as tricked out my anti-material rifle before stepping deep into the blue light. After spending more time than I want to admit spamming through the dialogue, I put all my excess ammo in the safe and formulated a plan of attack. Aiming for the parts for the autodock first, I end up at the X-17 medical facility. Here I fought several orderlies and realized that this DLC was going to be an absolute pain in my badonkadonk. I collect as many things as possible before heading back outside and interacting with my first lobotomite. Humanoid enemies aren't that big of a deal, but between the robo-scorpions and the police dogs, I had my work cut out for me. This went on for some time. I collected the project for the sink, died roughly 5 times thanks to the spore carriers so that I could grab the piece for the biological research station, learned about the sexually charged light switches, and visited Higgs Village. There are a bunch of holotapes scattered around here, and I got a good collection of mentats as well as the important Gabe's Bowl, but overall nothing unique happened here and I didn't gain very much experience. I did have a close call with the lobotomites outside, but thanks to the fast fire rate and reasonable damage of the sniper rifle, I can't complain. One of the reasons why we came to Old World Blues in the first place, outside of the experience, was to get a unique rifle, which I had been putting off simply because I'm stupid. With that stupidity in mind, I began making my way inside of the institutional test facility, where I dealt with several cyberdogs and received grades for the students. It's about now in the script that I realize that I haven't been horny for some time, and I think I'm going to hold off just a little bit longer so that I could put off becoming a stereotypical YouTuber. I spent a decent amount of time in this facility and gained a decent amount of experience clearing it out, so much so that I finally leveled up to level 28 and grabbed Light Touch. This is the first light armor related perk that we picked up so far, but this doesn't necessarily mean that we will only be using a light armor for all situations. I get to meet Gabe, the big boy that he is, find the audio file that I was looking for, and have a sudden epiphany that I hadn't picked up Christine's rifle. I head over to Yangtze and grab the rifle in the opposite building. We learned in Dust that this is one of the best weapons in the game thanks to its built-in silencer and relatively common ammo type, but how would it hold up without Dust's damage system? Reasonably well is the answer to that question. This weapon made me feel as pretty as the day that I tried on my first pair of panties. As I broke into the testing sites and cheated the system thanks to my high lockpick, I felt even prettier with my hardened. For the final test, I did need to disarm the robots, but even that wasn't difficult, and I obtained the maximum rank of the stealth suit as well as a bunch of skill books. With much of the DLC completed, I returned to the think tank and spoke to all the doctors, trying to complete all their quests in the event that I wasn't able to fight in the final section. I became so close to level 30 that I opted to reset my traits. I opted for Built to Destroy and Fast Shots. We've quickly shifted to more of a critical focus build over the past 30 levels or so, and Fast Shot has been working out relatively decent. This does mean that we can now get addicted to chems and they won't last as long, but we can always grab Chemist for increased chem duration. While we haven't been obtaining very many implants from the base game, Old World Blues adds several implants that don't actually require endurance to be tracked. One of which being in the Z14 DNA splicing lab that is home to several Cazadors and Specimen 73. Their speed bested me but once before I picked up the Trivalence Oscillator for more health regeneration and Implant M5. At level 30, I ended up snagging the perk Tunnel Runner, which when combined with Implant M5 at the auto dock, allows me to move insanely fast when crouching. This will actually be effective once we pick up Silent Running, but until then just pat me on the butt and pull my hair. The Robo-Scorpion, when distracted, goes down without much of a fight, and for whatever reason, I decided to kill Dr. Mobius. This did take a little bit of doing, but after a few deaths and some lubrication, I got my brain back and convinced the think tank that every little thing is going to be okay, allowing the end of the DLC to commence. Even low-level characters can win the think tank to their side as we've experienced in the past, but having high speech and science allows the process to go a whole lot smoother. Like every run, I did contemplate changing out certain body parts to their original, but I opted to just stick with what I have, as I really enjoy not being crippled or poisoned. With all the DLC that we planned on tackling in this run being completed, I carried on with our never-ending quest for experience. This saw me completing the Come Fly With Me quest, killing the fiends for the NCR, getting the data from Vault 22 for Thomas Hildren, and even visiting Quarry Junction to clear out the lizard mommies. I would take the time to describe all this in great detail, but I'm afraid I would make many references to Intercourse with the Cactus to describe my emotional state throughout this time, and not even my therapist wants to hear about that. Something that you do want to hear about is the time that I spent in West Side Sewers. One of the quests that acts as a great test for the player character and source of experience, even in the late game, is Bleed Me Dry. Featuring Red Lucy, the mommy that she is, you are tasked with collecting a bunch of eggs. If you've been following along closely and not just using me as a background noise to shield your mind from intrusive thoughts, you'd know that many of the areas of this quest take you to places that we've already visited. This does involve a little bit of backtracking, but surprisingly many of the enemies have already respawned, meaning a great source of experience. Vault 22 sees us grabbing mantis eggs and causes a few jump scares, but overall it is as smooth as my calloused hands. It should be noted that you are required to go back to Red Lucy after every portion of the quest, and while she is beautiful, we'll be cutting that out, given that this video is already long enough. The red scorpions outside of Goodsprings give me their huevos in exchange for me putting them out of their misery, which is rather routine, but the next cave with the fire-breathing donkey mates is flavored a little differently thanks to a faction expansion mod. Yes, that was a Shrek reference. It appears that a few rangers deserted the NCR and set up shop in this cavern and likely would have been powerful foes, but increased wasteland spawns made them seem relatively incompetent. I personally love it when mods overlap like this, as it feels like a rather unique experience and keeps me in my dainty toes despite years of playing the same game. In the end, after putting both sides out of their presumably horrible lives, I snag up the eggs and get to work dealing with the Night Stalkers. The amazing part about New Vegas is that you can play in whatever way you want. If you want to be a little bottom like me, you can grab a rifle and hop up on a rock. If you want to bash and slash, pick up your favorite melee weapon and a few chems to show your enemy who's boss. The sheer number of enemies may have been a bit more than what I should have reasonably handled, but working slow and sticking to stealth allowed me to bite off much more than I had the right to, allowing me to get more eggs for our queen. Cazadors aren't something that I've ever really felt comfortable fighting on very hard difficulty, but HP or explosive rounds do wonders with slowing them down. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough ammo and had to pop a stealth boy to get the job done. I did the same with Quarry Junction as we just cleared out that location and I didn't want to farm for more ammo. I could also blame the fact that I had already been playing in several hours that day and was feeling the fatigue of my thick ass resting in my chair, but I'm sure you'd rather not hear about those details. I start the next day feeling refreshed, so I gear up for continuing the experience grind. I should mention that this is not how you should play New Vegas, as there are plenty of quests to level up, But more spawns lets me level up fast and get these videos out to you a little quicker while still protecting my personal pride. Speaking about prides, I killed some more Night Stalkers over by Morningstar Cave as well as some golden geckos. Enemies respawn relatively quickly with the mods that I'm running, so it doesn't take long to level up, but I didn't want to make it too easy on me. The Deathclaw Promontory looks a little different with expanded factions, but still houses our same friendly lizards. I clear out most of them before returning to the pass by Red Rock Canyon to clear out the flying devils I previously missed. I'm going to cut out most of this leveling, but I do want to stress that this took a while and I started to dance around the map to try to find more locations with dense clusters of enemies. I know that I missed several good places and quests throughout this run, but most suggestions can be deferred to a response of speed or preference. One location that I didn't expect to clear was Vault 34, as it is outside of my usual routes, but it actually proved to be much more fun and challenging than what I would have thought. Low item condition and too many enemies whittled away at my sanity, but I'll let the owl in the past take it away. Look at how fast we move when crouching, it's just so fast, I love it so much. Oh crap, this isn't good. Not now, weapon, please stop jamming. That was close. Christine's rifle grouper. The variety of enemies in New Vegas makes me feel completely content. I feel so hot right now. A really satisfying part about using the anti-mitre rifle is that reload sound. Like, you can't get enough of it. Oh crap. Please stop. Dude, chill. Swapping to explosive rounds? So wild. That's right, my children, growl at me. My health is holding out surprisingly well, but my accuracy is ass. I need some steady. Oh my lord, there are so many. Do I have any more explosive rounds left? One? Just one? Ow, my limbs. I think that was worth it. Somewhat. Alright folks, time to get wet. Oh, that sound of activating that pump station just really gets me going. Oh my god, that damage is so bad. This is gonna hurt. That was a little bit too close for comfort. The state of my ammo supply and my weapon condition are so bad right now, it's not even funny. I just don't understand why they have to be so beefy. I know we're playing on very hard difficulty, increased spawn. Stop, please. My weapons are completely shot. Like, I either need to get out of here or find a way into the armory now. Hey, Fred. Dude, there are so many. And then I gotta get through the overseer themselves and the turrets. Oh my god, so freaking close. One more. Are you freaking kidding me? I'm out? Oh, come on. Just die already. Dude, how many bullets are you gonna eat for breakfast? Alright, I am just a little stealthy guy. Please. Dude. How many are there? I don't even know if I have enough weapon condition for this. Well, we did it. It certainly wasn't easy. My weapon condition is non-existent, I'm afraid. Having survived the test of Vault 34 and finally being able to repair my rifles, it's now time to review our gear for the final battle of Hoover Dam. For weapons, we've got the anti-material rifle and Christine's silence rifle, which have been two huge staples throughout the later portions of this run. These are accompanied with enough rounds that I could miss every single shot 10 times and still be sitting pretty. For armor, I'm wearing the First Recon Beret, an Oscillator, Lucky Shades, and the Scorched Sierra Power Armor. In reserve, I do have Ulysses' Duster for my light armor perks, but I only used it when sneaking. Mr. House, mustache and all, presented the facts, and it wasn't long before I was on the dam itself, dealing lead to the Legion. This challenge, if you'd even call it that, was the longest I've played New Vegas in some time. It is so easy to play fast and as little as possible to make a video, but I like to do runs like this to show the possibilities that this world has. Despite limiting both my weaponry and survivability, I had a lot of fun and even used equipment that I don't usually have access to. I certainly didn't build the best character to snipe with, but I did build a character that I am insanely happy with. We're still pretty squishy even in power armor, but it does provide a decent buffer should things go awry. The anti-material rifle is good, especially when dealing with some beefier enemies, but like, the 308 is really all you need, the Christine's rifle. I don't know if this guy's gonna be hostile towards me or not. We'll just take him out. I missed? What? There we go. This has been a really chill ending to the game. I almost feel like the ending of the game needs to be Lonesome Road, but I get how that's not satisfying. Dr. Henry. Okay, y'all shouldn't shoot me. The Scaretron did more damage to me than literally anything else has. Dude, I can't even get a single hit on them. I love having so many monitors because you can just watch porn at the same time. It's beautiful. Minus 146. This weapon is just so fast, so light. It just, you know?
Put it out, will you?
Dude, we're literally fighting. Okay, y'all just chill. We don't need to overreact. I would want to chem up a little bit, maybe. Just in case this doesn't go to plan, although I think it will. I'm addicted. That's 2 shot. The final battle steers to an end, and Lanius falls from 2 shots from Christine's rifle, and his men are soon to follow. General Lee Oliver and his gang are certainly a force to be scared of, but my big black men shield me consensually, allowing me to prove absolutely nothing because, of course, this was possible. Beautiful. That worked out pretty good, right? With that said, I had a lot of fun throughout this run, and if you enjoyed it, consider becoming a patron and joining the Discord. Without further ado, I'm going to go have a wet dream, so do me a favor, will ya?
Mr. House
have a good one.
To run New Vegas his way, a despotic vision of pre-war glory.